It's time for the Cover Price Top 10. We're going back 1 year. All right, guys, it is time for the Cover Price Top 10. We're going to go back 1 year. Before we get into this list, I do want to say I'm going to do things a little bit differently in this video. I want to hear from you in the comment section. Do you enjoy it this way, or do you like it the way it's been for the last 2 years or so? Before we get into all of that, if you could hit the subscription button or the subscribe button, the notification bell, find me on all the social medias. Most important too, down in the description below, you can get yourself a Covrprice.com discount code, as well as MutantBeaverComics.com and whatnot. Get you $10 off your first purchase. All that stuff is down there. And don't forget to check out Covrprice's YouTube channel. They're also putting out some great content as well. With that, let's get right into this. Now, remember, this list and write-up comes to us from our friends over at Covrprice, focusing on their top 10. They reflect on what the top trends were 1 year ago. I'll take you through how each title's sales compare from last year's market values to today's current values. How did these comics do? What had a boost in price and what had a bust? And let's start now at number 10. This is Batman 609. This issue features the first appearance of Thomas Elliot, who later becomes Hush in issue 619. The Batman director, Matt Reeves, had previously spoken on the record about wanting to introduce Hush into his Batman universe, while also adding a Hush Easter egg in the media campaign for the Batman. Between the Joker, the Court of Owls, and now Hush, not all can be in the next film, or can they? Because this issue has highs of $38 raw, $195 and a 9.8. 1 year later, we know that Batman 2 is set to release in October of 2025. So we're going 2 years from now, guys. However, there haven't been many updates regarding the villains of the sequel. It's currently trending at raw near mint fair market value of $29 and $134 and 9.8. This was a small bust for both raw and graded. It saw all-time highs of $289 in a 9.8 from March of 2022, at the height of speculation. Over the past year, the overall collectibles market has corrected from the highs we saw during the pandemic, so a slight dip in trending price is expected. With the dip in average pricing, now may be a good time to buy, considering the rumor mill is still churning for this. However, don't expect massive gains on the investment. That was number 10. Let's shoot down to number 9. This is Power Rangers Unlimited, the Death Ranger, number 1. This is the Derek Chu Virgin 1 in 25. The Power Rangers are iconic, having spanned decades with a particular emphasis on fantastic comics as of late. Last year, fans were grabbing any new first appearances in the ever-expanding Ranger world, like in this book with the full introduction of the Death Ranger. Dark, we know, but dang, is it sweet. There are a lot of backstories to dig into when it comes to the Death Ranger and being behind the mask. Spark and former Omega Ranger. So we encourage you to dig a little deeper. It had highs of $85 raw and no recorded graded sales. 1 year later, we know the Death Ranger's origin and how it's affected the Ranger universe, but no spoilers here. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $41 and $144 and a 9.8, the highest known value. This was a bust for raw and still to be determined for graded. Typically, ratio variants tend to hold their value, especially for raw copies, so it is interesting to see such a significant dip in trending value. Given the current price range, it may be worth picking up a raw copy for your collection or getting it graded and testing the unknown waters of the graded market. That was 9. Let's go to number 8. This is 8 Billion Genies, number 1. Remember, 8 Billion Genies, fans picked up this first issue like wildfire. Each subsequent release kept collectors engaged and wanting to return to the main cover. That started it all. It had highs of $50 raw, $200 and a 9.8. Amazon also optioned the series in June of last year, which led to this issue gaining popularity. Since then, there have been no new updates. 1 year later, the series is still highly touted as an engaging story with breathtaking artwork that genuinely captures the reader's imagination. However, 1 year later, the lack of news, albeit due to normal development lulls and the Hollywood strikes, has made this issue a bust for both raw and graded. It's currently trending at raw near mint fair market value of $33 and $60 and a 9.8. It saw all-time heights of $235 for a CGC 9.8 in August of 2022. The bust for this issue is attributed to two factors. When a book is optioned, it typically gains significant momentum, and given the lack of news, it's clear the market has cooled off. Also, It's too early to gauge any return on investment, so this may be an opportunity to buy the dip. However, just because the series is optioned does not mean it will ever see the light of day, a la Bone. At the same time, this was the most money ever spent by a streamer studio for a comic project, so it's likely that Amazon isn't letting this go, and they have the money to ride everyone out. Prices are probably as low as they'll get for now. That was number 8. Let's get to number 7. This is Web of Spider-Man 118, the Direct Edition. Last year, Hasbro leaked an image on the back of a Trouble game, and fans were treated to a surprising image of Scarlet Spider, also known as Ben Reilly. With this leak, Scarlet's first appearance in this issue started flowing off the aftermarket shelves. At the time, speculation regarding Across the Spider-Verse was running rampant, and this leak contributed to the Ben Reilly rumors. It had highs of $127 raw and $1,000 in a 9.8. 1 year later, we now know that Scarlet Spider had a fairly integral role in the Spider-Verse movie and was met with mixed reviews from fans, though most of them were loved. However, that doesn't seem to have affected the comic book market. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $72 and $912 in a 9.8. This was a slight bust for both raw and graded. However, it saw all-time heights of $1,250 in July of this year, 1 month after the movie's theatrical release. It's hard to say this was a true bust, but it's an excellent example of how only some heroes or villains that appear in the movies or TV will provide a solid return on investment. That being said, Scarlet Spider will likely continue to hold its value and trend upward. Given the current dip, especially for raw copies, this could be an opportunity to snag one of them and get it graded. With that was 7. Let's go to 6. Detective Comics 1063, the Yoshitaka Amano 1 in 25. Amano's most notable work from 2021's Harley Quinn, number 1. Taking it a step further, Amano delivered a mesmerizing ratio cover that captures abundant emotions. The contrast of the colors and the subtle creature shadows truly encapsulates what it seems like a dark night in mourning. It had highs of $76 raw and did not have any recorded graded sales. 1 year later, this ratio has mostly held its value. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $62 and $182 in a 9.8. While it's technically a bust, having trended down slightly for raw copies, it has generally held its value. It saw all-time heights of $250 in a CGC 9.8 from May of this year. If you're a fan of Amano, this could be an opportunity to pick up this ratio variant. However, as we see more graded issues pop up, the graded value will likely settle. That was 6. Let's go to 5. A Sensational She-Hulk number 1. She-Hulk ruffled some feathers last year, while others cheered on the controversial finale moment as they felt it matched the series' tone. A style pulled straight from her sensational series that has carried through her numerous comic book iterations. While many chase She-Hulk's first appearance, her second series' meta-aware and third-wall-breaking first issue has garnered much interest. It had highs of $36 raw, $200 or 9.8. 1 year later, it's rumored that season 2 is in the works, but given the current strikes, it has continued to be dragged and delayed. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $26 and $159 in a 9.8. This was a slight bust for both raw and graded. It saw all-time heights of $408 in October of 2021, well before the first season was released. Given that the series wasn't a major success amongst fans and the delay of season 2, it's not surprising to see the slight dip in trending value. We're halfway there with 5. Let's go down to 4. Thunderbolts number 1, the Paulo Siqueira 1 in 25. This Thunderbolts issue featured 2 appearances of Gustin Glory and Egro the Unbreakable, 2 new members of the new Thunderbolts roster that also made it its first appearances. Coupled with reports that Florence Pugh will lead the Thunderbolts as Yelena Belova in the MCU. The Thunderbolts title gained much momentum last year and the aftermarket reacted. It had highs of $45 raw with no graded recorded sales. 1 year later, we know that Thunderbolts and the cast are set to release in 2024. Indeed, Florence Pugh will be reprising her role as Yelena Belova. However, Guts and Glory and Egro the Unbreakable have not been rumored to join the cast. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $14 and $41 in a 9.8. This was a bust for both raw and graded. It saw all-time heights of $65 raw, and that was from August of 2022. A ratio variant rarely drops this significantly in value, but given the current lack of Thunderbolts news and hype, it's not surprising to see this series' long momentum. If you believe Gutson and Egro, market prices are pretty darn low. Let's get to number 3. This is Trespasser number 1. All it takes is an optioned book, and the market will demand to have it part of their collection. That is the case with this book. Endeavor Content and Jason Fewes acquired the rights to Trespasser and aim to produce a thriller film. In August of 2022, it was announced that Joe Pena is the director. Since then, there's been no additional news. The story is set in post-apocalyptic world where a farmer and his daughter receive a visit from an individual outside of this world. It had highs of $115 raw, but it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $10. This was a pretty big bust. It saw all-time heights of $120 in August of 2022. This is another example of how not every option book works out. Can a trailer or film release return this book to those all-time highs? Most likely, no. But a bump in price? It sure can, if it didn't get canceled during the strike. Given the current raw prices, it may be worth throwing a dart and hoping some updates kickstart the market. We're getting close, guys. Here comes number 2, and I want to remind everybody too, discount codes in the description, covrprice.com. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel as well as the website. It's a fantastic tool for your collection. Let's get to number 2. This is Dark Horse Presents number 36. Reports surfaced last year that an Alien movie being developed by Hulu. Many wrote off the news as a nail in the coffin for the franchise, but I should say that is until they saw Prey. Fans were blown away. Naturally, Alien and Predator are meant to meet, with their first battle featured in this book. Fans think that battle may be the natural conclusion for a Hulu trilogy, but until further notice, it's only speculation. It had highs of $76 raw and $349 at 9.8. 1 year later, we have an official title, Alien Romulus, along with the cast and a fan-made teaser trailer. There's yet to be any news on the two franchises converging anytime soon. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $12 and $154 in a CGC 9.8. This was a major bust for both raw and graded. However, this issue will hold some value with collectors of Alien and Predator, and the likelihood of the two meeting again is very high. However, the comic aftermarket has moved on from this bit of speculation for now. Here we go, guys. Last one on our top 10. And again, I want to remind you, leave a comment down below in the comment section. Do you like this new format, or would you like me to go back to the other one? With that, let's get down to number 1. This is Star Wars number 22, the EM Gist. Star Wars 26. Star Wars 26? Did I say 22? 26. It was Star Wars 26. It was a book with over 4 new first appearances. Ambassador Givens, Major Shireen, General Palton, and Qui-Ra's nephew and niece, John and Beverly. Many collectors aim to acquire this book, given its enormous potential for the next arc. It had highs of $21 raw and no recorded graded sales. 1 year later, we know that Star Wars Comics have released various series featuring a ton of first appearances throughout the past 12 months. For non-Star Wars experts, it can be overwhelming and hard to tell what characters have the best long-term potential. That's definitely the case here. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $8 and $25 in a 9.8. This was a slight bust overall, given the less than significant recent market movement. It saw all-time heights of $126 in September of 2022, a significant outlier. However, despite the dip, you never know. With Star Wars first appearances, some have light market movement, while others explode in value. These prices, especially with 9.8s being so cheap, feel like the smart buys. That's our top 10, guys. I like breaking it down here at the end, so let's get into the breakdown. While everything on this list is a bust down to their highs 1 year ago, not all are out. Most of this list have both short-term and long-term potential. She-Hulk, Web of Spider-Man 118 for Scarlet Spider, Batman 609, that's the Hush book, and the Amano Batman variant saw some minor drops in price. Even the more significant declines like Star Wars, 8 Billion Genies, Alien vs. Predator, all have fantastic future potential and now offer pre-heat entry pricing. Optioned projects like Trespasser, despite rarity, rarely hold value. Yet again, prices are low enough that the risk is currently low. Yet the overall message here is to never buy at market height. Ideally, you bought into the new releases below market price or at cover. If you picked up a copy of the other books on the list, hopefully you found them in the wild for ultra low prices. Patience is a virtue, guys. Make sure you check out covrprice.com, their movers and shakers list, and come back next time. Because we're going back, what are we doing? We're going back 3 years? 2 years. Let's go back 2 years. 2 years for the next Cover Price video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep your comics.